Five Tool, thank you for joining us for another message that we hope challenges you, equips you, and encourages you to become the person that God has called you to be. Today, we want to jump right into our message, and our topic today is comparison. How do we compare ourselves to other people? I think this is a very dangerous trap that many of us, especially athletes, coaches, parents of athletes, we fall into very easily. So today, I want to take a biblical look at the problems that comparison presents and births in our life, and also some things that we can do to remedy our desire to compare ourselves, or that temptation we have to compare. The verse that I want to use today is found in Ephesians, and it's the second chapter. It says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Now, the reason I want to start off with this is I think it's essential to understand that as you are listening to this, as you are watching this right now, you need to understand that you are God's workmanship. You are God's handiwork, it says. You are God's creation. You were created for Him. You were created by Him. You were created through Him with a purpose. And you were created with your gifts and your personality and your passions, and your life's work is to fine-tune those and to discover those, and for you to be you. God doesn't desire you to be anyone else other than you. And you do you the best that you can do it. I hope that makes sense. But God only wants you to be the best you. But our tendency is to take our version of us and compare it to someone else. And I've heard it said by many people that the danger of that, especially with social media nowadays, is we create the reality of our lives, the good and the bad and the ugly of our lives, and we compare it to other people's highlight reel. You only see their best. You only perceive their best, and you compare their best to some of your worst and to some of your realities that you know but maybe nobody else does. And it's not a fair comparison, you guys. Everybody has those ugly moments, those obstacles in their life that they'll never show on their highlight reel that you're comparing themselves to. So let's take a biblical look at some of the problems that arise when we compare ourselves to other people. Now, I think one of the big pieces is it just makes you discontent. When you are constantly comparing yourself to someone else, you are never satisfied with where God has you right now. I'm not saying that you need to just settle, to be lazy. I'm not saying you stop working. I'm not saying you stop getting better. That's not what contentment is. And I think sometimes we mistake contentment with being satisfied. There is a difference. Contentment says, I'm okay. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with what God has me doing right now. I'm happy with where He has me right now. But I want to get better. But I want to go further. But I want to develop more. But contentment says, I'm happy. I'm at peace. Yes, I'm driven to get more. I'm driven to become better. I'm driven to become the best. But I'm content with where I'm at right now. I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I will never tell you to be satisfied with where you are at. I'm a very driven individual. I think most of you who watch this are. And satisfaction says, okay, I'm done. I'm settling on this. I'm satisfied. I've met my fill. I've met my desire. Contentment says, I may not be where I want to be yet, but thank you for where I'm at right now. And when we compare ourselves always to other people, it messes with our contentment. And we constantly are in this state of discontentment. I love what Paul writes in Philippians 4, verses 11 to 13. He says, you know what? I found that the secret of life is being content. No matter what the circumstance, whether I'm well-fed or whether I'm hungry, whether I have a lot, whether I have little, the secret is learning to be content in all things. And then at the tail end of this is when that famous verse comes in, I've learned that all things are possible through Christ who gives me strength. That token verse, that poster verse that we all know, comes on the heels of Paul saying, I've learned that a big part of life is learning to be content. Learning to say, yes, I want to go more. Yes, I want to be better. Yes, I want to go forward. But I'm content with where God has me right now. And I've learned that everything is possible, understanding that, and understanding that Jesus is working in and through me and around me. Comparing messes with your contentment. It's a very, very dangerous place to go. It also makes you prideful. When you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, two things happen. One, you realize you're not good enough. That's no good. Two, you realize you're better than other people. That's not good either. Okay? When you are comparing yourself just to say you're better, it leads to you being prideful. You are going to get an ego. You are going to become full of yourself. You're going to lose that humility that God desires in an athlete that honors Him. One of the verses I think that points this out really well is found in Luke 18, verses 11 and 12. And I'm not going to read it to you, but it talks about the Pharisees, and the Pharisees are describing their actions and how they pray, and they use big words, and they pray in front of people, and they pray loud, and that they give extravagantly and all this stuff. But really, if you dig into what they're saying, they're not proud of what they're doing. They're proud that they're doing it better than you. They're proud that they're doing better than the average person. And their actions toward God, right, are supposed to be just actions toward God. Not actions to God so that they can boast about being better than someone else. Jesus is saying, look, don't worry about anybody else. You do you. You do you. It's not about you being better than that other person. It's about you being better than you were yesterday. And you keep doing that, you're going to be pretty good. If you can keep getting better every single day, when you go to bed at night, your commitment for the next morning is today, I'm going to be better than I was yesterday. And tomorrow, I'm going to be better than I am today. And you keep doing that, the only person you're in competition with is you. And when you start comparing yourself to everyone else, you will become prideful. And you will begin putting others down because they're not where you were at. That's a very dangerous place to be. You will lose your humility. And in the process, you will come dangerously close to losing a big part of you. Because you're not trying to become you anymore. You're just trying to be better than the next person. Now, the third thing, it makes you jealous. When you are constantly comparing yourself to other people, you have this tendency to want what they want. You want their skill. You want to be able to do what they can do. You want to be able to do it the way they can do it. You want to look like they do. You want to feel like they do. You want to be where they're at. You want to be on that team. There's always something that you want that you don't have. Jealousy is a massive problem in our lives, especially in sports culture. It's hard for us to celebrate others instead of being jealous of them. It's just difficult. I want to give you a proverb. This is Proverbs 14, verse 30. It says, a peaceful heart leads to health. But jealousy is like a cancer throughout the bones. Now, you and I, we've probably all known someone that has dealt with cancer. It is ugly. It can spread quick. And it causes a lot of damage. And what Solomon is writing in this is that cancer is very similar to jealousy. Jealousy is there, and it can go undeterred for a while, but when you realize that's what it is, it's probably spread. Guys, I'm telling you, you compare yourself to everybody else constantly. You want what they want. You want to be where they're at. It's going to lead to jealousy. And when you become jealous of someone, it's impossible for you to add value to them because you want to be them. You may never admit that you do, but in your heart, when you strip everything away, you want to be them. I'm begging you. Focus more on what you have Focus on where you're at. Focus on the opportunity God has given you. Focus on all of that more than on what you don't have. If you focus more on what you have than what someone else has, you are going to be more grateful for what you have instead of being jealous about what you don't. Comparison can lead you to be discontent. It can lead you to be full of pride. And it can lead you to be jealous. Now, what can we do to combat this? If that's the issue, what can we do for a remedy? I'm going to give you 4 real quick things. And honestly, they're pretty easy. A way that you can stop feeling the need to compare yourself to everybody. Number 1 is you recognize what you are. You recognize who you are. You were created by God for a purpose. What is your purpose? What are your gifts? What are you good at? Are you good with people? Are you good as a leader? Are you a good influencer? Are you just good? Are you quiet but people follow your lead? Are you a good role player? What has God gifted you with, and how do you use it to the best of your ability? Who are you? Because that's what you need to make better. Don't worry about who your neighbor is. Don't worry about what your neighbor's doing and how you can become that. You just be a better you. God created you to be you. Your job is to make it the best you that you can be. Recognize who you are. Recognize what you are. 2, it kind of goes along with the same thing. Once you recognize who you are, you take steps in your life to just being better. We talked about this earlier. Do whatever you have to do every day so that in some element of your life you can say, hey, I was better in that than I was yesterday. Maybe I walked a little bit longer today. Maybe I was more kind today. Maybe I added value to one more person, or maybe I added value in a different way today than I did yesterday. Maybe I called this person today that I wanted to yesterday, but I didn't. I didn't have the nerve. What can you do today that makes you better than yesterday? Because this is what I'll tell you. The things that you do today, the decisions that you make today, the thoughts that you have today will undoubtedly impact your tomorrow. They will, one way or another. So why don't you do today what makes you better tomorrow? What makes you better than you were yesterday? And if you can come up with that mindset, you are going to go a long, long way in life. Number 3, one of the easiest ways to stop comparing yourself to others is simply to celebrate others. When you see someone else that has something that you have that moment where you want it, celebrate it for them. Don't express jealousy. Don't go to that place where you want to be there. You want what they have. You're angry because they have it and you don't. Don't do any of that. That's so tempting, you guys, but it will mess you up. Instead of all that, celebrate them. Encourage them. Show them that you are proud of them. It will go a long way in you being a great teammate, and you being a great leader, and you resisting comparing yourselves to other people. And finally, a great way to help yourself not compare to other people is to help other people. You may recognize someone is not where you were at. That's fine. You don't need to compare yourself to them. You don't need to put a side-by-side up. Instead, help them. Help them get to where they want to be. If they are just doing them, how can you help them be a better them? It's hard to compare yourself and be jealous of someone that you're invested in. And if you can invest in people and help them become a better them, even people that you would say are better than you, how can you make them even better? You want to beat the comparison trap? You want to overcome this temptation? Here's what you do. You recognize who you are. You just keep doing you and get better every single day. You celebrate others' victories. And finally, you help make other people a better version of themselves.